For as long as I have run this channel, I have been talking to those of us who have basically seen the light, so to speak. My aim was to try to get through to those of you who haven't seen the light, and to try to help you to see the true danger we are in, and to appreciate the importance of preparing for what is looking more and more likely to take place in South Africa in the near future. The problem is that, for the most part, I am singing to the choir, really. The vast majority of my audience are people who really don't need any convincing of the true nature of the situation in the country. Of course, there is a slow process where my channel will pull in someone from the other side now and then, but that isn't happening fast enough in my opinion. This got me thinking about why it is that even today, the majority of us whites still don't see what is clearly in front of us. There are a few reasons for this, and I have come up with a theory that I think covers the biggest portion of them. The thing that really got me interested in finding an explanation for this was how people have responded to the vaccine rollout. Why some people were so willing to roll up their sleeves without even blinking an eye, while others were dead set against it from the very beginning. I started to look around me at the people I saw regularly, and I studied their lives, what they did for a living and how they spent their free or leisure time. What I have observed is quite interesting. I found that people who worked in environments where group sentiment or where there was an environment of team spirit, those people would all go with whatever the group decided so as not to feel like an outcast of the group. Another very large and influential group where the same mentality reigns is in social clubs. These clubs could take the form of sports clubs, hobby clubs, churches, etc. Basically all social gatherings where people got heavily involved and spent most of their time. These people tend to live in a world of their own, devoting most of their free time to taking part in the club or group activities. In essence, these social clubs and the members are their lives. By doing this, they effectively isolate themselves from what is happening outside of their groups or clubs. These people also tend to be the kind that would rather binge watch series after mindless series on Netflix on a Friday night than spend the time looking into what has been happening in their neighborhoods or the rest of the country for that matter. For these people, rolling up their sleeves was considered something to be proud of, something to make the group happy at the time. On social media, it was the in thing to change your profile pic to a badge proclaiming that they were fully vaccinated, etc. Another common reason for people rolling up their sleeves without giving it a second thought was so that they could travel. I've spoken to so many people who, even after being exposed to some information that should have created some doubt in their minds about either the effectiveness or the possibility of this shot being potentially life-threatening to them, decided that they wanted to travel and the risk was worth taking. Well, the same mentality has applied to many of us regarding the situation we find ourselves in South Africa right now. I know so many people who, because of the circles they move in, have absolutely no clue what is going on around them. In some cases, anyone who expressed any opinion that contradicted the opinion of the larger group would be chastised. They would be considered an outcast and rejected by the group. For this reason, many people refuse to expose themselves to anything that might cause them to stand out from the crowd or to appear as a fish swimming against the current. It is simply easier to be a sheep, to go along with the group mentality and to be accepted in the crowd. Usually these groups are led by only a few people with strong personalities and who overwhelm the rest of the group. It's kind of like in the movies you see, where high school girls will follow one girl who thinks that she is the coolest girl in the school and acts as such. Inevitably, she will get a following of other girls who will ride her coattails in order to feel like one of the in crowd. They will totally lose the ability to express an individual opinion, going with whatever the so-called leader says. Our social groups are not much different. Individuality goes out of the window and is replaced by a strong sense of groupthink in order to fit in, because differing in any way with the group will quickly cause that person to find themselves as an outcast of that crowd or group. Another huge contributor is ignorance. Many of you who have been following my channel for a while would remember me discussing my own definition of ignorance. Basically, in the dictionary, there isn't much difference between the meaning of the word ignorance and naivety. I have my own definitions of these words, and I do see a huge difference in their meanings. Basically, being naive, in my opinion, means that you are a person who simply has never been exposed to a particular bit of information and therefore don't even know that it exists. You simply don't know what you don't know. That is someone who is naive. An example of a naive person would be a very young child who has never been exposed to any information regarding the birds and the bees, for instance. They have no idea that sex exists and therefore are naive in that regard. The dictionary would say that they are ignorant in that regard, and in a sense that is right. I like to be more specific and to distinguish between the two. My definition of ignorance would be someone who does not have any knowledge of a particular subject, even though they know it exists for them if they just looked for it. They have chosen to ignore its existence and to act as if it did not exist, because if they acknowledged it, they would be forced to turn around and swim against the current. This to me is an ignorant person. When it comes to the South African situation and the very real threat the whites here face, people who are ignorant of the facts are the most selfish and, in my opinion, the most difficult to get through to. They will choose to ignore any information you put in front of them so as not to disrupt the little world they live in, not to cause them to be outcasts from their little groups. And then when it comes to these clot shots, there is one group that has just gone silent. This is the people who, without thinking twice, went and rolled up their sleeves. It doesn't matter what reason they had for doing it. They have now realized that what they have done is permanent and could very well cause their death in a year or two to come. These people are living in constant fear that soon they will develop some kind of medical issues and possibly die from them. Do you think any of them will admit it though? Not a chance. Although they have stopped pronouncing to the world that they are sheep, they would rather defend their decisions in any way possible than admit that they could have made a huge mistake. I personally know someone like this. This person is a member of a sports club, which is literally their life. Being a member of the sports club takes up so much of their time that there is hardly any time left of their days for their family. Their club life is their life. As soon as the clot shot was rolled out, they all lined up like a bunch of sheep and got their shot. They all proclaimed on Facebook that they were proudly vaxxed with a custom badge to replace their profile pictures. The same person is now suffering huge medical issues, but do you think that any of their family can suggest that the clot shot could be the cause? If you want to see a crazy person, tell this individual that the clot shot could be the cause of their medical problems. It reminds me of my own mother, who was a chain smoker for as long as I can remember. As her health deteriorated and she developed more and more medical problems, the more defensive she became if anyone dared suggest that her smoking was responsible for her bad health. She maintained that attitude until the day she died from cancer caused by her smoking. Not in a million years would she admit that smoking had caused her health issues. It's a sad state of affairs, really. We are largely handicapped by our own ignorance and egos and the inability to admit that we were wrong. When it comes to the situation in South Africa and the future survival of the whites here, we are our own worst enemy. Fitting in with our little clubs and groups has taken precedence over our own survival. In most of our cases, we do know about what we don't know, and that is just plain ignorance, in my opinion. Ignorance which will eventually cost us everything we have, including our lives at the end of the day. So although this question doesn't really apply to most of you, I have to ask the question, are you one of the ignorant? Please like this video and share it on as many social media platforms as possible. It's the only way that my message gets out there. If you have not subscribed to my channel yet, I have to ask why not. You have absolutely nothing to lose. If you would like to support my channel, in the description I have supplied ways in which local as well as international listeners can make a contribution. If you would like to make a crypto contribution, also in the description I have provided a Bitcoin as well as an Ethereum wallet address. If you would like to contribute any other crypto, simply send me an email to the address also provided in the description and I will reply with the relevant wallet address. To all those who do contribute, I say a huge thank you. Without your contributions, these recordings would not be possible. Until next time, be safe out there.